Welcome back, guys, to another episode of figuring out how to install parts on my car because I am a noob who knows nothing about what I am doing. Not really. But today we are going to replace the rotors and the calipers because it turns out the ones on my truck that came from the factory, well, somehow I managed to warp them. Maybe it has something to do with Tail of the Dragon, but I've also never really towed anything heavy, so I don't know. Either way, Tail of the Dragon would explain it though, because pushing the brakes and everything that far probably heated them up a lot, and these brakes aren't really meant for that kind of stuff. So this is not a sponsored video, but I will tell you that I ordered some PowerStop brakes that are drilled and slotted. So I'm really excited to see how these brakes do, and I went ahead and ordered them for all four wheels, front and rear. We're gonna start with the front brakes. I have the hood open because I was just driving a bit earlier and I want everything to cool off quicker. I've got most of the tools that I need. I've got a jack on the other side. I borrowed some tools from my dad. The cardboard is to help in case there's any brake system leakage. Yep. There's an engine. All right, let's go. Since my camera died and I already did the install, I am doing this on my cell phone now. So hopefully the quality is decent enough. I am losing daylight, so let's get this over with. To do the brake install on the new style 2019 and up DT Ram, you're going to need a jack and at least one jack stand. You're going to need a breaker bar for the really hard to break loose bolts up in the front. A torque wrench for the wheel nuts. They need to be torqued, at least mine needed to be torqued to 130 depending on which style lug nut you have. Go on Google, research it. It's either 130 for a cone shape or 140 for a flange style lug nut. The flathead came in handy. There's no flathead screws though. Sledgehammer, again, that went with the breaker bar. Ugga-dugga, aka impact wrench. You're going to need the T30 socket wrenches. You're going to need a C-clamp to help compress the brakes. And over here, let's take a look at our socket sizes. A 12 millimeter, a 5/8, which will be interchangeable with a 16 millimeter, I believe, but the 5/8 worked well for me. A 13/16, and a 21 millimeter for the lugs. And that should do it. Hopefully I didn't leave anything out, and of course a good tool selection will be key to doing a good job on this project. All right, so there's a couple of things I want to cover real quick before we even get started. Put the parking brake on whenever you're going to be working on your vehicle, especially if you're lifting the vehicle off the ground. Never, ever, 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 ever put your vehicle up on a jack without jack stands. Any of you who have been working on vehicles before should know this already, but for the newbies out there, always put jack stands under your vehicle. If I had parking stoppers for the back wheels, I would use them. Definitely use them if you have them. I don't have them, but I also don't plan on really getting underneath the vehicle that much. Should be fine. I got the car in park, and with the parking brake on, I've got the stands on both sides. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the front end. Okay. Hey, Jagger. Hi, buddy. How you doing? Ah, you're a good boy. Hey, what are you doing? Next up is taking the wheel itself off. And I already loosened the lugs, so just gonna do it by hand. All right, so first off, I'm going to take off this bolt that is the 5/8 bolt. This should remove the caliper. See if I can do it with one hand. Whew, guess not. All right, so two hands got it off pretty easy. And that's that. There's another one down here. They use this to lock the rotor onto the hub assembly, and it is a T30. Hopefully that comes through clearly. T30 star bit. Forget the names of these things, but the size is a T30. So I'll need my power tools for that. But first, let me get the rest of this off. Let's take a look at these. You guys can tell me in the comments what you think about this, but because since I don't know much about brakes, but I will tell you that I think I already see some uneven wear. But I could probably get these resurfaced and keep these as spares. Interesting. The dealership told me that these were warped. Not seeing much of the warping. All right, came right out. Impact wrench. T30. Now, this bolt here is for the bracket, and it is a 21 millimeter. So you'll need a 21 millimeter wrench and a hammer, or maybe if you have a breaker bar and can fit a breaker bar in here that has a 21 millimeter socket. Whatever, however you want to handle it. All right, so next up, we're going to start putting things back together. I'm going to be extra careful to hopefully not scratch anything. For comparison, here's the new pads and here's the old pads. It's a very similar design to stock, but the material is different. These are carbon ceramic. These are the originals. The shape also has a little bit of difference. If you want more information on that, check out PowerStop. They do not sponsor this video, I just happen to buy the products from them. I'm just going to take this edge, hook it in here, and do the same on the other side and slide it in against the pad. There we go. Okay. It's actually a lot easier to get these pads into place when the bracket is not on the rotor. But to each their own. If you prefer doing it a different way, have fun. I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the calipers. Now here's the part that gets a little complicated. I've got to compress these calipers. I'm going to use an old brake pad and a C-clamp. Hopefully that did the trick. Fully compress the brakes. There we go. Where's the other bolt? There we go. All right, and this side is done. Now the funny thing is about this whole thing is that when I started this project yesterday, for the record, with the GoPro dying and lack of light, I didn't feel like doing it at night. So I just decided to wait till today. Whatever, so what if I'm slow? But yeah, so I didn't remember that I had Cars and Coffee high octane nights tonight, Friday. Oops. So let's try to get these back brakes done in time, because I'd rather have it all said and done and head to the race. Even though I'm not racing, I'd rather just have it done. So let's do it. I forgot something that's pretty important, and that's to make sure these are torqued down to the right pound-feet. So these are what I believe Mopar refers to as cone-shaped lugs, and they require a torque of 130 pounds. And torque wrench set to that. Let's drop it down on the ground a little bit. Not all the weight on it yet. Another thing you want to keep in mind, especially if your truck is only a two-wheel drive like mine, wheel chocks. Because we're lifting the rear, there's literally no brakes on the front. And I don't have wheel chocks. So hopefully these bricks will do. Another thing, make sure your parking brake is not engaged. When I previously started recording this, I thought that one of the bolts was the same size as the front. Well, I was wrong. Instead of using a 5/8, it's a 12 millimeter. And yes, I know it rolled over there. I'm not going to lose it like everyone loses the 10 millimeter. All right, got both of these removed, and I only have 19% battery life. Something you got to be very careful of is the extra line going here, here, and everywhere. I almost ripped them out, so be careful. I just rotated everything away, and I already started undoing this one because I was having trouble with the GoPro. But yeah, it's a very similar setup as to the front brakes, just a smaller bolt for here. All right, so changing out the pads. What I found interesting about these is that they have this spring here, what I assume is a spring, and that's what appears to keep them in the slots. So let's start on this side. Never mind, I popped off a spring. So that'll go in the garbage because the PowerStop brakes come with them. Yep, got 4 of them there. So ping, ping, these come out. These come out, they just simply pop out, nice and easy. Not so easy to put on, but very easy to take off. And another note, it appears that all of these are the same. There we go. My trick was to do the bottom first and then rotate it on. There we go. And both the original brakes and the PowerStops have this little notch slider thing. I don't see a purpose for it. It wasn't hooked onto anything when I took the old ones off. So no need to worry about that, I guess. What I'm doing is I'm pulling up this clip piece and it slides right in if I don't pinch myself or knock the other one out of place. There. In this case, I knocked the other one out of place. All right. Now for the springs, they were pointed inwards, so I will do the same. I'll adjust them as needed. And because my battery is getting low, I'm only going to show you on the one side. And there we go, new pads. Now another difference from the front is that I cannot use the C-clamp to put pressure on the back here because of the plastic housing of the electronic parking brake. Your best bet is to use a compression tool, a tool that's for pressing back the brakes. But unlike the fronts, they're not hollow. So what I can do is I can brace it up against the back. and it'll work like that. But I can't film that, so just imagine it. Well, we have a problem. I cannot compress these. Or maybe I already did and didn't realize it. All I know is I can't turn this thing anymore. So, I'm just gonna leave it like that for the time being. I'm gonna unscrew this just like on the fronts, pull this off and put the new one on. All right, so it turns out I am really dumb and you do not want to do what I was about to do. I did some research and it turns out that if you go into the Uconnect system, settings, go down to brakes, brake service. Would you like to retract park brakes to allow for brake system service? Boom. Very interesting. I did not know that. Boom. It's loose. This was tight before. Ha! That's crazy. The more you know. So do not try to force that. Go into your computer on the new Rams and do that. You don't want to force it until you've done what I did in the Uconnect system. Then that allows you to compress the piston as needed. And I realized that it still needed to go back because, and that's as far as it'll go, because this is very thick. And it wasn't fitting even after doing that in the system. And now, it fits perfectly. The most important things I learned today to do the rear brakes are to first go into your Uconnect system and go into the settings, hit the brakes option, and service brakes, or whatever it said. You get what I mean. You saw it, I showed you. It should be pretty self-descriptive. The next thing is, do not compress the rear brakes until you have done that. If you do that, you could damage your brake system. All right, guys, that's gonna have to wrap it up because I am running out of daylight. It is winter here in Florida, so it gets dark pretty early. Not as early as up north, thankfully, and no snow, so yes, I can actually have fun during the winter. So make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon if you want to get notified when I upload new videos. Anytime I do anything to this truck, I will make a video on it and I will put it on YouTube for you guys to enjoy. In the near future, I can afford to get a lift kit and some nice new wheels, maybe something that'll show off those drilled and slotted brake rotors. They look so good, you have to see it in person. And I'll probably go ahead and get those calipers painted too. But for now, truck looks good and hopefully should perform even better. I'm gonna go ahead and break them in as this camera's battery is dying for the 3rd time today. So, have a great day, everybody. I will see you on the next video.